What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Scouting Combine here on the Five Reasons Sports Network. I'm joined by my co-host Eric Smith. Eric, how are we doing today?
Hey, great. Football's finally here. Training camp's here. Love seeing the reports. Love seeing, the guys that we're hearing are doing well, and looking forward to seeing how it continues to progress.
Of course, and today we are joined by our special guest Alfredo Arteaga of 3 Yards Per Carry. Alf, how are we doing today?
Good. A little tired,
A
but
little
good
tired?
nonetheless. Yeah.
What'd you do today, Alf?
Well, I just finished my workout right now, so I just finished jogging 5 miles, so I'm like falling apart right now.
How was training camp today? Anything eventful? Anything noticeable? Any noteworthy news other than the Tua extension?
Well, I think that was what was dominating, the mood at practice. It's very, very hard, man. It's very hard to start saying, "Oh, this wide receiver is good," and this cornerback is good, and that safety made a play when you don't have QB1 because the offense tends to look very, very different. You know, uh, Tua Tagovailoa is going to stress a defense much, much better than Mike White or Hardison or Skylar Thompson will, right?
Mhm.
But what you can glean is, just bits and pieces, and you start confirming some of the things that you were told. You start confirming. Everybody kept telling us about, Chop Robinson's first step, his get off, how good he is off the block, and yeah, it's evident. He beat 3 tackles today, 3 tackles, and then he started facing doubles from Durham Smythe and Alec Ingold. So they decided, we're just sliding some protections. We're going to try this against him, and we're going to use Durham Smythe in line, and we're going to use Alec Ingold to block him. And that's the attention that started paying to him. But he had it all. He had it all going today. He had everything working. He beat Ryan Hayes. He beat Kendall Lamb, and then he beat. I think was the best play made by a defender today was his pass rush 1-on-1 on Austin Jackson. He beat him on inside. You could almost tell that Austin Jackson was setting up outside, and he just beat him with a rip inside and got the instant pressure, and we got a throwaway from Mike White. So he was a standout today. So that's going to be interesting going forward. But again, overall, it's hard to glean a lot of things especially from your skill guys,
Right.
without QB1 there.
Yeah. Eric, do you think that, this first practice, without pads officially fully on just yet, is this a good indication of success for Chop Robinson, especially in practice, or could this just be, him starting off and the players not necessarily knowing his moves and what he's able to do?
Well, I don't think it's any surprise that, when Chop Robinson steps on the field, the first thing that every offensive lineman is going to be looking for is his speed, which is why you'll see stuff like Alf said. Austin Jackson is so worried about getting beat around the edge that you're going to see players who overset and, give Chop that inside rush move. In my opinion, these early camp days, not being in pads, especially in pass rush scenarios, is an advantage for the defensive pass rushers. So, I mean, definitely better to hear that Robinson is excelling in this environment. But, I wouldn't get too crazy about, him just beating these guys now. I definitely still want to wait till the pads come on. But I'm definitely more encouraged hearing that he is doing well in that environment rather than, not hearing anything at all from him.
All right. And Alf, we have a question from Jason Stamps. How did Brandon Peely look today?
That's a guy that I would absolutely love to watch when the pads come on. Pads are coming on next Monday, so this coming Monday. It's hard to judge any interior defensive lineman or interior offensive lineman for that matter
Right.
without pads. At least you could glean something from some of these 11-on-11 installs where you get to see an offensive tackle and an edge rusher go one-on-one, because that's always cool to see. Because that's a little bit closer. And that's more of an approximation of what actual action is going to look like. But in the inside, it's almost impossible to judge. So on Brandon Peely, I would say stay tuned. I don't know yet.
All right. So we got a little bit of noteworthy news, but today we are actually going to be talking about the right guard situation for the Miami Dolphins. We do know Robert Hunt left in free agency, got a massive, massive contract to the Carolina Panthers. Now the question is, who's going to be the right guard? Um, we do know that Isaiah Wynn is still recovering and was a starting left guard. So we are under the assumption that Isaiah Wynn will be the starting left guard. However, if you watched Eric's Take 5 last week, he did have a hot take saying, don't just pencil in Isaiah Wynn just yet. And we'll talk about why later on in the show. First, Eric, what guys do you think will be able to, basically battle out and make that starter right guard spot this season?
Yeah, so there's three guys that are in the competition. You got Jack Driscoll, you got Robert Jones, and you have Liam Eichenberg going to be your three lead candidates, unless somebody just comes completely out of the blue. But I certainly think it's going to be one of those three. I think when it comes down to which one is going to win that position, I think you have three very different players. You have, Driscoll, who's on one end of the spectrum in terms of a athletic guy that may not have the power that the other two do. And then on the other side, you've got Robert Jones, who is a very powerful player, but he's also not as mobile as the other two. And then in the middle there, you have Liam Eichenberg.
Right. So we'll go ahead first, talk about Liam Eichenberg. He did play a lot of snaps at guard as well. So let's go ahead over to the first play. This is up against the Las Vegas Raiders. All right. Pre-snap, Alf. What are you looking? It looks like a basic front from the Raiders over there.
Yeah, it's it's an odd front. So Liam Eichenberg even has that disposition. Like obviously, it looks like they're all in a pass set. He has that lean. He has to watch the B gap. So this is pretty straightforward. He knows who he's blocking. He has to be very, very aware of any stunts inside. So, this is a situation where he has to bounce or overset. But, in this case, since it's a run, this is very well disguised, by the way. Since it's a run, he kind of does an okay job here. Although that right there can and usually does get flagged. Now he reached on the inside. I talked to somebody today that's pretty much in the know as far as offensive line play, and I was saying, look, is it possible that Liam Eichenberg, since he's been playing at left guard and then right guard, also played a little bit of tackle, then played center, is it possible that he's just forgetting which hands to use when? Because you could see it on tape every once in a while that his technique, he loses his technique, or maybe he's even using technique that's supposed to be from the left side to the right side or the right side to the left side. This is one of those cases where you could almost see that he's trying to get out. Is this the same play here?
No, it's a different play.
Okay. And right there, he works to the second level. You kind of want to see him really seal that guy, seal the zero off. Okay. He just does a half-hearted effort, right there. If he could really just seal that, he has, I think a better effort is probably something you would want. And, if you could look at what happens here with the mic, okay? Look at the mic, all right? Now watch how the mic is going to fill into the A reading the B gap, right? If Liam can get out to that level, if he could just seal off 96, get a good push out there, and square up 41, this play might have some more possibilities. And then you open up the big cutback lane. Instead, 41 gets himself occupied, okay, with Tyler Kroft of all people. And that causes the wash that kills the play in its infancy. So very little to like on this route.
All right, Eric, we have the next play right here. I like that we have different views here from the All 22. Thank you for grabbing that as well. The Dolphins look like they are in their pistol formation. By the way, if you guys haven't checked out Baldy's tweet from last week, he did say that the Dolphins pistol formation gives a pretty good advantage to Tua Tagovailoa seeing over offensive linemen in the pass game and in the run game. It allows the running backs to block a little bit better, both in the pass and run game, especially if they are playing in a 22 personnel as well. All right, so Eric, take it away.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at this, I'm thinking it's probably going to be a zone to the strong side. You got that counter motion we talked about. Yep, there we go. So I was either an outside zone or crack toss type play there. Yep, so that's just outside zone to the strong side. So this is kind of a little bit of a veteran move by Liam here, right? It's a really easy block for him. Even though this defender has him extended, right? Liam just swats the hands down. That defender's going to fall. That defender is neutralized now. So, there's a lot, for some reason, people say that Liam Eichenberg is not a good athlete. And you see it a lot on tape that he is able to get into position pretty often. And kind of to Alf's point, right? So the tapes that we have from Eichenberg today are from his right guard games, which were weeks 11 and 12 of the season. And the times that he does get beat, to me, it seems like he's just kind of maybe a split second late getting set up, kind of like he's caught off guard, and that's why it looks so bad, right?
All right, here's another play as well.
There's a lot of people that I've seen say that he gets blown up on every single pass play, and it's just not true. Like, unfortunately, Liam Eichenberg right now is the whipping boy for Dolphins fans when it comes to offensive line play, and the reality is that he played pretty well last year, especially at guard. When he went to center, he had some bad games, right? But also his first time ever playing center in the NFL, and he kind of steadied that out. Plus, he ended the season, playing with what sounds like was a pretty significant calf injury, which obviously makes it tough for an offensive lineman. And I kind of like the blocks earlier that we had that we talked about with Alf there. This one is not a good one, right? He's trying to combo up to that next level, and he really doesn't give enough help here for Connor Williams to take over that block before he tries to slide off. That's more of a chemistry thing than anything, because I think we do see good examples of him being able to do that. And when you look at the angle that Connor Williams has there, looks like a bit of a miscommunication as to who was going to take over that block, right? Williams is kind of going flat down the line, and Eichenberg looks like he's trying to climb a bit more right away.
You talked about Liam Eichenberg being the whipping boy for Dolphins fans. And speaking of right there, okay, look, right there, that was good functional power. He did get blown back a little bit, but he still pretty much held his ground. And the thing with Dolphins fans, and I can speak for Dolphins fans as well, we've seen Liam get blown up a lot on plays, and it just comes back to us. We're like, oh, it was on Liam. Oh, it was on Liam. Oh, it was on Liam. Like, he's there, and it for us, for those that don't know offensive line play like Eric and Alf, or for those people that are like me, we see it in the game and we're like, oh my God, it was Liam Eichenberg. Why is he out there? We know he's bad. Why is he still bad out there? This play right here is not necessarily on Liam Eichenberg. Yeah, he got pushed back, but then he still pretty much held his ground. That defender was not able to get to Tua Tagovailoa on that pass play over there. It was more so from number 91 rushing easily. I mean, what more could you ask from Liam on that play?
Right, that's a good example. And you're going to have that. Even the best linemen in the NFL are going to lose some ground in pass protection at times, right? But the best ones have the ability to reset that anchor and to not get pushed all the way back, right? I'm not saying that happens all the time with Liam, but that last play was a good example of when he, shows that he does have that ability, right? He can, drop his hips, reset his anchor, and slow down that pass rush with the bull rush.
Right, and here's a a run play right here. He's holding his ground. Like his guy's not moving much more than maybe half a yard. He's holding his ground right here, and the play isn't necessarily towards his side. He does his job. And I think when Jason Stamps put it in the chat, when it's bad, it's ugly.
Yeah, and I agree with that 100% because, like I said, to me it seems like when he loses, right, he's just a little bit out of place, or he's a little bit late getting his feet set, and when that happens, it's gonna look really bad. But I don't think that it happens nearly as often as a lot of fans may feel like. But like Jason said, like when it happens, it can be really bad on tape.
Alf, in this training camp, do you think Liam Eichenberg, because of his tenure and his history with the Dolphins, he's the de facto starter for the left guard position?
Right guard.
Oh, I'm not certain of that. Maybe on the other side, but I wouldn't really
Sorry, not left guard position, right guard position.
Yeah, I wouldn't make any predictions on that until we see Isaiah Wynn back in the fold. And once he's back in the fold, they're going to give it up pretty quickly because they've had the last 2 years. Oddly enough, the last 2 years, the guy who has started in the first preseason game, that was the offensive line for week 1, both years. So they tend to try to put their starters out there early, and they want to get them a lot of playing time, a lot of snaps in the preseason and in camp. So they'll give it up pretty soon, but I would wait till Isaiah Wynn comes back.
Okay. All right, now we are talking about Rob Jones. And Eric, you and I both like Rob Jones. Back when Rob was entering the NFL draft in 2021, I put up a scouting report, and a lot of the scouting sites had a UDFA or 6th grade ground on him. I had him as a 5th rounder, particularly because of his run blocking. He's a mauler and he's a power guy, which is what you need from a functional guard and a standard offense. Now, of course, this is not a standard offense, or the guard position doesn't ask what a typical regular guard does and a standard NFL offense. This is a West Coast Shanahan style of offense. Rob Jones was drafted to a Chan Gailey, George Godsey, Eric Studsville type of offense, which is completely different from this one now. And Eric, you said he doesn't necessarily fit the athletic profile, getting up to the second level, but he has shown, especially in the Baltimore and Dallas game, he's able to, when given chemistry and timing. And we'll take a look at that on the film. Alf, what are your thoughts? Oh, go ahead, Eric.
No, I was going to say, as you go through the player, like this is, one of those times that you see that lack of athleticism for him, come out in film, right? We switched place here. Okay, so this is actually one of the better ones for him in terms of that, right? He gets out there, when he has time, right? When he has time, he's able to get out there and set up. He does a decent job in space. It's more so if he's chasing somebody down and he doesn't have the, the angle to set up and to, get hands on him, that's where he kind of falls apart. I think that he does a good job working with the limited athleticism that he does. I think he takes really good angles a lot of times, and he helps to negate some of that. But it definitely does show up on film at times that he's not the same athlete as a Liam Eichenberg or a Jack Driscoll.
All right, this is a good play from him right here on number 92 for Baltimore. He's able to hold his ground. It was basically Austin Jackson doing a chip block on number 92 to help Rob Jones out, which sets up for a nice big hole here for, I think that's Devon A-Chain. Yeah. He gets some type of burst out of that small hole, or a little bit of a cutback lane right there. I think Rob Jones did what he was asked to do on this play. Alf, do you have a different thought?
No, I completely agree. He got his man, he got his man's feet moving. So he displaced him, and that's what you want him to do. Right there on that play, which is, it's odd that's a power play, but they run power, and he's actually successful. He had some really good snaps. I don't know if you have him in here against the Cowboys, which kind of shows you what he's best at.
we do have some Cowboys clips. Here we go. All right, right here, as a right guard. He holds his man down, but it looks like the rest of the defense line was able to blow up that hole.
Yeah, what's pretty good right there is that they're blocking one gap over, and he squares up his guy pretty easily. So that's good work there. That's really, really good work there by Rob Jones.
All right, here's the next one with a cheat motion, with the cheat motion or the sharp motion, which the Dolphins utilize. Really good chip block, and then able to work his way up to the second level. Right there. Pretty standard, exactly what you asked for. And Eric, this is the type of athleticism you need in a guard, especially with his feet, and if the timing is perfectly right here. I mean, they line it up right to the motion. Chips works his way up there, gets a little bit of space for Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. So the zone blocking scheme makes things easier on an offensive line. So they're not necessarily saying that you have to take this player and you have to move him over to this gap, right? If that player slants in front and wants to go across, then you let him go across, and really the pressure falls on the running back to make the offensive line right. The biggest thing for the offensive line is that they have to make a clear determination, right? So when we look at some of these ones with Robert Jones, it may not look like a great block, but the fact that he is moving that defender from point A to point B, it doesn't matter where point B is, right? But he's not leaving him in that same gap, which is, if you get 5 guys that are doing that, then eventually you're going to have a breakdown in their gap responsibilities, kind of like you see there. And you're going to, you got the backs that can read it. That's why it's so important for the backs in these offenses to, run it the right way, right? It's not the most athletic guy. It's not the guy that can break the most tackles. The best backs in this system are the ones that understand how to read the blocks. They're disciplined in their path. They make the right reads on the blocks, and it's going to look different every time, but it's still coached the same way. So
All right,
even though
here's one play where he couldn't really get his hands on a man right here, and the athleticism that you're talking about, which he needs to be consistent about.
Although this is pretty difficult, man. This is pretty difficult. 33 is lined up, and Dallas, who knows what they were reading on this play, but 33, you could see him where he's lined up. He's lined up 7.5, almost 8 yards off the line of scrimmage, and who knows what his
Smaller,
key is.
faster, leaner.
Yeah.
So I would say on this, I think that Smythe on a tight end, right? I think they're leaving the edge is that Parsons unblocked, and then Smythe has number 1. Now, what I believe should have happened here was that Robert Jones and the right tackle should be combo blocking up to that number 13. And Jones leaves really early, and that's again where the chemistry part comes in. Because if they both work through that defensive lineman, then when Jones slides off to make that block on number 33, he's not in as much space, right? You've pushed that defensive lineman back, you've closed that space, and when you come off that block, now instead of having the 5 yards that Jones has for this linebacker to run around him, now you're only looking at, hopefully only 1 or 2 yards, and it makes it easier to latch onto those blocks.
Yep. Here's the very last one for Robert Jones here. Up against Dallas. Again, motion out to Tyreek Hill in the end zone as well. And this is up against a playoff style type of defense. We want to see offensive linemen be able to control the line of scrimmage up against these playoff defenses. So when we're talking about this in the AFC, up against the Bills defense, the Chiefs defense, the Bengals defense, the Ravens defense as well. We're talking about the 49ers defense as well. They have to hold their footing here. And
Yeah, and
here
this was
he,
that very last play. I think it was a 3rd and 3 at the end of the Cowboys game
yep,
where they, when
yep,
they converted this, it essentially
the
ended the game,
seal,
and then
yep,
they kicked the game-winning field goal afterwards. So I thought it was huge here that in that caliber of a play that the Dolphins decided, hey, we're running right behind Robert Jones, and that guy that is lined up, shaded just the outside of him, that guy has to get moved on this long trap play to let Wilson get through and convert that first down.
Yeah, this is like a lead 22 trap. You would have liked to have seen Robert Jones and Kendall Lamb absolutely cave that guy in, but they displaced him pretty good. Look where he is. Like, look where. Just stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. Where
go
right
back.
before the play. Okay, he's lined up in the B gap, right? Now watch where he ends up on this play. Now he's going to try to square up Robert Jones because he's sensing that it's a lead on him. So he knows he's getting blocked by 2 offensive linemen. So you're taught to try to square one of them up. And that's what he tries to do. But look at how they displace him on this. Let it go. He starts off about 1.5 yards off of the hash. Let it go. Let it go. He's in the B gap, right? And he's going to end up almost 3 gaps over. So, yeah, that's a pretty successful lead trap play.
Yeah, that was pretty good chemistry by Kendall Lamb, and
that's also, this
right
play is
there.
also an illustration of why Lester Cotton has so many issues.
Yeah,
It's a trap play, and he's reaching. Don't reach. Keep your hands inside the numbers. The refs are sometimes itching to throw a flag on you as soon as they see your hand get out when you're out in space.
all right, let's take a look at some of the Baltimore clips as well for a playoff defense in the AFC right here. So it looks like a pass play. Yep, it is. Screen. Gets his hand on a man at least, right? That's what you want.
Yeah, I mean, he gets out there. I mean, you can just see him running in space. Does not look natural.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the best thing
he
about
gets
it is that the best thing about that play is that he's just a big giant thing for
right.
Devon Achane to run behind. You know what I mean? You could
Right.
use
I
him
mean, you
at.
can see the
He's
effort
essentially
there.
running interference.
Yeah, and that when you have backs that can read blocks, sometimes that's all you need is somebody that's big and in the way.
All right. Here we go, nearby the goal line as well. All right, look at that, Rob Jones.
Yeah, so that's that same idea, right? We're not telling him that he has to necessarily seal that defender inside, right? That defender is going to keep fighting outside. So all they're looking for there is to continue to get that vertical push. And again, that's going to strain the defense's gap integrity and keeps I think that's Jeff Wilson kind of on path there where because of that vertical movement by Rob Jones, when that defender comes off, he has the space to get that little jump cut to the inside. Whereas if Rob Jones didn't get that movement, right, then that defensive tackle, that jump cut would have taken him directly into Rob Jones, his backside. But just by getting that vertical movement, it's creating additional lanes that the backs can run through.
Here's another one what looks to be a pass play. Another screen.
Yep.
And the last one right here. Oh, this is a oh god, this play right here was a play that Tyreek Hill dropped the ball on big time. It's a good play too.
Mm-hmm. And this is something I think that Jones does really well. It shows up a lot in his tape is that he does a good job with appearing to communicate and be able to pass off stunts, which is something that, for whatever reason, Dolphins offensive linemen as a group have struggled with over the years. I think that it's getting better, as they've had the same offensive system now going on year 3. But this is something I thought that Jones did well compared to others.
All right, so we've seen Liam Eichenberg. We've seen Rob Jones. Alf, if it was between the two, who would you want?
Well, Rob Jones has one tool and one trait that you just can't teach, and that's his power. And he allows you to get to other things in the playbook that you just can't get to. You could run some leads with him. Now that's not something that they do a lot all year, but you like to have that in your repertoire when you need to pick up a yard. And you saw it in that Cowboys game. I don't think that that's something you're really comfortable calling if it's Liam Eichenberg there. So I like Rob Jones a little bit more just because of his versatility, and he opens up the playbook just a little bit. But mind you, he's not going to be as good as a lot of other guys on the roster with their bread and butter, which is outside zone and split zone.
All right, next up we have Jack Driscoll, who was signed to the Dolphins. He was a free agent signing from the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, Eric, with Jack Driscoll, and I know you did a video on him. He's more of an athletic type, an athlete, which this scheme asks for to get up to the second level, to move laterally pretty well. And he's not necessarily the most powerful guy. What are you seeing on this play, especially with the heavy set?
Yeah, so like you said, he is more of a technician. He's a very athletic guy. He does a good job of getting in position. If he can get a defender on the move, he does a good job of using that defender's momentum against them here. But when you look at the way Robert Jones is a little heavier, right, in the way that he plays, and then you see a play like this, you really like to see Jack Driscoll really able on this play to keep everything himself and that defender outside that hash mark, right? It's a zone. He's on the backside of that.
Outside this
All he's
hash mark,
really
I
trying
want
to
you to be
do,
here.
yep, all he's really trying to do is to cut that defender off, but that defender is able to, basically bully him into the hole there, which could have been a potential cutback opportunity that's shut down because Driscoll is the one who is, getting driven into that hole.
All right, next play right here. It's an empty pass set. I mean, it didn't look like that much of a pass rush. It looks more so like a contained type of situation to contain the quarterback. Wasn't pretty much giving that much effort on the pass rush, and Driscoll pretty much sniffed that out. He just pretty much held his own right there.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so. Plays like this are why I say when you look at an offense with a mobile quarterback, to take the pass block ratings with a grain of salt, right? Because it's a completely different look. Because that guy who is rushing is not pinning his ears back. He's not trying to push the pocket. They are just trying to make sure that Jalen Hurts does not have a lane to escape there. I know that one of the things that have been tossed around recently is the next gen stats, the pass block win rate, talking about how well a offensive lineman does holding a block for 2.5 seconds or longer. So this one might be shorter than 2.5 seconds, but when you look at another team's offensive line who is blocking for stuff like this, right, they're going to shoot up that metric because they have quarterbacks that hold the ball longer, and those quarterbacks are more mobile, so they're getting more of a contain rush. Whereas the Dolphins, when the ball gets thrown out, in less than 2 seconds, that gets wiped away from pass block win rate. So when you look at the, when they're using a percentage and say that, a player on the Eagles wins 95% of the time and a player on the Dolphins wins 90% or less, right? That gap is probably a lot closer than what you may think just by looking at, analytics numbers.
And also, let me say something about that previous play. That
this
pass
one,
rusher. No, the one before that.
this one.
Yeah, that one. That pass rusher he's getting stonewalled by Jack Driscoll. He knows he's giving himself up because the play side buck is dropping into the short zone, and that pass rusher now knows he has to beat not only Jack Driscoll but Lane Johnson, who's standing right there in front of him. So he's essentially giving himself up. He's just trying to occupy those guys.
All right, this one right here, Alf. Do you think this would be a seamless transition coming from Philadelphia's offense to the Dolphins' offense for Jack Driscoll, or is there going to be a learning curve for him?
I think it's seamless because of the run games. The run games are somewhat similar. Not completely similar, but somewhat similar. So that's going to
Good
help
pick up
him.
on the stunt.
Yeah, but as far as the pass game, it couldn't be more different. It's it's like different planets, different sports, really. But the run games are very similar, so that should be pretty easy for him to pick up. The pass game is not. The pass game, it might as well be playing. They might as well be playing different sports.
Once again, another contain rush, which you're looking at from number 78 right there, Eric. So he basically just has to hold his man and be on the lookout for any stunts or twists coming through. You can see him looking at his head. He's like, okay, I'm getting help. Let me see if I can find some more work and help my quarterback out. Pretty good job by Jack Driscoll on that play. Here's one where we have by the goal line right here as the right guard.
Yeah, and you can see on this one, right? We talked about watching Robert Jones earlier and watching Robert Jones run it on the screens and how that doesn't look natural. And it's the opposite when you watch Driscoll. I mean, being able to skip pull and, get to that second level, he's comfortable in that type of role. So if you're comparing, like I said, they're opposite ends of the spectrum, so when you're looking at Rob Jones in space and you're looking at Jack Driscoll in space, that's where those players are very different.
Yeah,
Yep.
look at his footwork here.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's he shuffles over, like you can see it almost quickly. He shuffles over 3 gaps with 2 steps. That's
He's
pretty,
doing the Cupid shuffle right there.
yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Now you would have liked them to to see him drive his man, but he occupied him enough. He squared him up. He occupied him, and he made the guy a non-issue on the play.
And there's the combo drive right there on the combo block on this play right here with him and Jason Kelce.
There's really good tape of him the last game against the Giants. That's pretty cool stuff as well. I don't know if you have that.
I don't think we do.
I don't think we have that. This was all from when he played right guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he played some snaps at right guard against the Giants because remember that was at the end of the year, so they were resting people.
Right.
But the Giants were not, so you get to see him go head to head against Dexter Lawrence for most of that game.
So out of these 3, and I know Alf, you said it's really dependent on when Isaiah Wynn comes back. But if Isaiah Wynn was there, and out of these 3, is it a toss-up, or do you think there's a clear-cut number 1?
In my opinion, and it's probably unpopular, but he opens things up for your playbook, and that's Rob Jones. That's who I would probably go with, Rob Jones. But I would not, look, I don't think this is crazy, and I think that we're overdue for something like this. You can play 2 guys. You can play 2 guys throughout the season if you have to. It doesn't, there's no set law or Bible that says that you have to have the same 5 offensive linemen start every game and play every single snap.
Kind of like how the Ravens shifted between Ronnie Stanley and the other tackle.
Yeah, you could do things like that. So I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility. And Mike McDaniel was asked about that, and he said, "You know what? I wondered aloud sometimes about that." So I doubt they'll do that with the tackles because they're pretty set there. Yeah. But with the interior offensive linemen, non centers, yeah, I could see something.
And it's really dependent on what defense they play. Maybe one game they're whoever they play defense, maybe they struggle with power runs. The next defense they struggle with outside zone runs or traps or leads.
Maybe somebody plays eagle fronts or they play a lot of even fronts on rundowns, and you don't trust Jack Driscoll against something like that. You might put Rob Jones in there,
Eric,
that's something he can handle.
Eric, what about you? Who do you think will win?
So, I mean, out of the 3, I don't have as high of an opinion of Jack Driscoll just because I do feel like his lack of strength at the point of attack is it's a big concern for me. I have a video that I posted before where I pick Rob Jones as the lead candidate for me. I think that the way that I grade and the way that he's graded out, he's really earned the opportunity to get a chance to start at right guard from the start of the season. But I could certainly see a scenario where they go with a more, the in the middle guy in Liam Eichenberg, where he's more powerful than Jack Driscoll, and also more mobile than Rob Jones.
Right. All right. Let's take a look at Isaiah Wynn. Eric, you're getting your hot take opportunity right here. And Alf,
Yeah.
maybe this could change your mind. But let's go ahead and take a look at some Isaiah Wynn plays right here throughout the season. All right, Eric, take it away.
Yeah, so I mean, my thing with Isaiah Wynn is he came in and he was a better guard than what the Dolphins have been used to having. But I think that, his early season success, may have inflated him a little bit too much. And I don't feel that he is as untouchable at left guard as a lot of people may think. Especially when you consider that he's continually having lower body injuries. I think that every time that he's been out for the season has been some sort of lower body injury. And it's the same thing last year. At some point, it starts
He
to
doesn't really
affect
hold his man
the
so much here
athleticism.
either.
Right. I just don't think that he is he's not at the level of a Teron Armstead or a Connor Williams has been in this offense. He's better than, he's better than Lester Cotton, right? Not even a debate there, but I just feel like he's kind of closer to that pack with the rest of the guards than a lot of other people may feel.
And is this due to primarily his injuries or just his play style or the scheme?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think that his performance, I think, is not significantly higher than the other guys that we've been talking about at the guard position.
This was a bad play right here.
And when you combine that with his injuries are significantly more frequent than the other guys that we're talking about, is it better, even if you do feel that Isaiah Wynn is a little bit better than one of these other guys that we're talking about as a solid option at right guard, are you better off taking the guy that's a little bit better but probably is not going to play 17 games in 2024? Or are you better off going with the guy who, maybe isn't quite as good, but he's going to be there, and you don't have to worry about, at what point in the season are we going to have to, put a new guard in the middle of a game or, spend a week adjusting to a new guard in the offense. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not, that wasn't a hit piece on Wynn. I think that Wynn is a good player, but I also think that the other guys that we talked about at right guard are good players too. I just don't feel that Wynn should be as untouchable at left guard as it seems like a lot of fans feel.
Alf?
As far as Wynn, I think it's just a familiarity, but yeah, everything Eric said is correct. He's very injury prone, and usually his lower body injuries can be, well, it happened against the Eagles, but it could be attributed to his disposition on the field. Like sometimes he starts and stops in plays, and if you're starting and stopping on plays, that's when you get rolled up on and people crash into you.
This is actually the play where he got injured last year.
Oh, he does not have his footing there. Oof. Look at that. Yep. That was not good. Alf, you talk about familiarity. Do you think a guy like Liam or Driscoll beats out Isaiah Wynn based on what Eric just said?
Well, if he's out much longer, that's a distinct possibility. Isaiah Wynn also has position flexibility, which helps him as a backup. So uh, I don't know. I would say no because of last year. Like they had it. They had it in their head that was going to be the starting left guard, and you can see it from day one in camp. Like they immediately just camped him out there on the first team, and then it just organically grew that way, where he was the starting left guard on opening day. So we shall see. We shall see when he comes back what they actually think about the offensive line this year, because they don't really hold their cards close to the vest. Like the guys the five that you see out there uh, on scrimmage day, which is 2 Sundays from now or 2 Saturdays from now, that's probably going to be the starting offensive line.
All right, we will keep an eye out and see what the scrimmage offensive line looks like, hoping the offensive line is healthier and better and is able to sustain that success into towards the end of the season where they're going to have to make that playoff push up against really, really good playoff defenses. All right,
Yeah,
folks.
the scrimmage is next Saturday, August 3rd.
And it's against
No, it's
Jacksonville, right?
it's a Dolphin
Intra-squad.
scrimmage.
Okay.
It's inter squad, and it's at Hard Rock Stadium.
Ooh, that's going to be one to watch as well. It won't be live. It won't be shown live, though, right?
No, I don't think it'll be on TV, but
All right.
But
Well,
fans could go watch it.
Yeah, it is what it is. Alf, thank you so much for joining. Eric, fantastic analysis as well. Stick with us here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network with the Scouting Combine podcast. As always, everybody, go Fins.